So good to have you with us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. I'm Jerry Usher with Debbie Georgiani on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. Our thanks to the team, Rich Jesse, our producer, Matt Gabensky, our call screener, Jeff Burson handling the social media. A lot of people behind the scenes who helped to make this show possible. And, of course, the key individual, the key ingredient to this broadcast every day is you. I want to hear your takes. 1-800-585-9396. Debbie, we're going to talk today about why we seem to face sometimes challenges when we set out to do something good for God. And this is, Debbie, something I think we've all experienced.
This is a great topic today. When you are ministering, when you are open to God, when you are trying to do God's work, doesn't it kind of seem like something always happens, or even something happens afterwards that kind of maybe takes you off of that great feeling of doing God's work, or challenges you or distracts you? We're going to talk about that today, but we want to hear from you. So if you are trying to be open to God, trying to do God's work, and you just feel like the world is crashing in, will you call us? Will you share your take on this? 1-800-585-9396.
Yeah, and this doesn't have to be anything formal, like when we say God, doing God's work, like becoming a priest or religious or getting involved in your parish or starting a pro-life ministry. This can be as simple as discerning your vocation to marriage, and then you get married and you have kids, and all of a sudden these trials come your way. Well, what's the deal with that? You're trying life, raise your kids in the faith, and the enemy comes at you. It could be Satan, it could be just natural things that happen, it could be our own human weaknesses. Debbie, it's really a number of things that could cause this.
Oh, absolutely. There's so many factors that play into it. But like, even if you sign up to be a religious education teacher, I can't even begin to tell you how many people have signed up to be a catechist. And then the first night of classes, they can't get a babysitter. They have a flat tire. All things happen, and it really distracts them, or really changes their mood and their attitude about signing up to be a catechist. I've heard that so many times. And Jerry, I've experienced it countless times. I could probably tell so many personal stories about it happens on a regular basis. And look, at the phone lines are starting to light up already. This is an exciting topic to talk about. Maybe we can all learn something, and also we can grow. And that's what we want to do on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. So call in, share your take, 1-800-585-9396.
Yeah, did you ever experience trials, challenges, obstacles when you thought you thought, I'm setting out, God, I'm gonna do this. I believe this is what you do. And then maybe you reach that moment where you look up to heaven and you say, God, what's going on, God? What's the deal here? I'm trying to do something good for you. I'm trying to live my life for you. And all of a sudden, all these things just keep bombarding me. 1-800-585-9396. And I want to share a scripture passage, Debbie, with our listeners that I think really speaks to this. And I found this on the EWTN website. It's Sirach 2. And this would be good to meditate on, folks, if you find yourself getting a little bit beat up when you're trying to do the right thing. Sirach 2, verses 1 through 11, and once you hear the first verse or two of this, you're going to say, I've heard this before. But it says, my son, and of course it could be my son or my daughter, if you come forward to serve the Lord, prepare yourself for temptation. Set your heart right and be steadfast, and do not be hasty in time of calamity. Cleave to him and do not depart, that you may be honored at the end of your life. Accept whatever is brought upon you, that humble you. Be patient, for gold is tested in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of humiliation. Trust in him, and he will help you. Make your way straight and hope. You who fear the Lord, wait for his mercy, and turn not aside lest you fall. You in him, and your reward will not fail. You who fear the Lord, hope for good things, for everlasting joy and mercy. Consider the ancient and see, who ever trusted in the Lord and was put to shame, or persevered in the fear of the Lord and was forsaken, or whoever called upon him and was overlooked. Verse 11, for the Lord is compassionate and merciful. He forgives sins and saves in time of affliction. So, Debbie, we've got a scriptural precedent right there. We should not be really, Debbie, I don't think we shouldn't be caught off guard when we have these trials and challenges arise.
Well, Jerry, but when you were reading Sirach, I was just thinking we should all write that down. Sirach 2, 1 through 11, put it on your dashboard of your car, put it on your refrigerator, put it on your bathroom mirror to remind us when we're trying to do God's work that this, we have the strength of God behind us, and we know what we're facing, and to be aware of it allows us to remove all the obstacles, and that's important, the awareness of it. That this will happen, but we're safe. We are protected. Keep forward. Keep doing God's work. This is an exciting topic. Wow. Do you have a personal story to share? Because I just thought of a personal story I'd love to share with our listeners. But you go first.
That's really close and recent. But first, I just wanted to say that we'll have Jeff, our social media guy, post that scripture passage from Sirach on the Take2Show.com website.
Perfect.
And our phone number is 1-800-585-9396. I've been in the radio business for 35 years, media, and believe me, folks, when you're doing this kind of work, there are a million things that could go wrong because you're relying on electrical power, you're relying on computers to work, you're relying on equipment to work, microphones, all the cables, internet, the computers, all of this stuff. And even when we were leading up to the launch of Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, we had a number of things that were just almost unexplainable. We had tested things were working. We did demo shows behind the scenes, and then all of a sudden it comes time to do the real thing, and we're just saying, well, what in the world is going on? And I'm not one who likes to give Satan all the credit, not even too much credit, but sometimes, as St. Maximilian Kolbe said, he likes to get his tail caught in the machinery and try and slow down the work that you're doing. So, Debbie, that would be something. I mean, I like you, I could sit here and share 1,000 examples.
Well, that was the most recent that happened to us because the show's only been on for a couple of weeks, and so I couldn't agree more with you, Jerry, that we had every obstacle thrown at us. And I thought what was great is how we laughed about it, because you do have to, this is going to happen, and we laughed in a way going, okay, we know this is par for the course, that like they say, we're going to just keep moving ahead. But I want to just share with our dear listeners a story because it's so unbelievable. You almost don't believe it. That's incredibly odd this story is. Over 10 years ago when I was a religious education director, and those of you who worked with me in Gilbert, Arizona at that time at St. Anne's, you might recall this story. It was actually unbelievable. It was a night where we had the junior high, it's actually 5th through 8th grade students, over several hundred of them. We introduced them, if you will, to adoration. And we were people, oh, you're not going to get junior high kids to sit very long in front of the Blessed Sacrament. It's not going to happen. They're fidgety, And we said, no, we really believe, in the power of the Holy Spirit and the power of God to allow these children to experience Him in a way. So we instructed the children just to sit in front of the Blessed Sacrament. That's all we did. It gives me goosebumps, Holy Spirit goosebumps, to even tell this story. Well, we had core leaders. I had 110 core leaders, but at that time, that night, there was only 50 core leaders there because it was half a class. Anyway, long story short, 50 adults were watching junior high students, Jerry, for close to 45 minutes sit still. Tears were running down so many of the children's faces. So many kids had sheer looks of joy on their face. After we got done, the kids ran up to us and the core leaders and said, that was the best experience of my life. I felt peace. I felt joy. I felt happiness. I felt love. And all of our core leaders, we walked away that night going, wow, we are on top of the world. It doesn't get any better than this. It is so beautiful. Well, I was the last one to walk out of the church with my assistant, and we were walking out, and I had a brand new minivan, and it was a beautiful neighborhood in Gilbert, Arizona, and where I parked was very safe. I walked out at 10 o'clock at night, and my car windows were shot out by a BB gun. All of my brand new. Now, anybody who knows me will tell you that's like the worst thing that could have happened to me. First of all,
don't mess with Debbie's car.
Well, yeah, because first of all, I like to keep the cars very clean and very perfect because the kids are in it, and I want to keep it nice and everything. But I don't like broken. especially little itty bitty pieces of glass. Okay, here's the end of the story. Fast forward. When we called the emergency company to put a cardboard shield on the back of the window, he turned to me and the assistant and he said, "This is unbelievable. Every piece of glass stuck to the cardboard. Not a single piece of glass." Now, I know it's unbelievable, but not a single piece of glass was inside the minivan. And I think it's because myself and my assistant, we knew what happened. We were very aware of it, that the world hit us when we were in a sacred place with the children. All of a sudden, when we went back into the world hit us hard. But we didn't crumble. We didn't crumble. We didn't get angry. We didn't get frustrated. We just persevered. And by the grace of God, everything worked out. So there you go. There's my personal story.
All right, what is yours, dear listeners? Share your take on why challenges, obstacles, difficulties, even sometimes tragedies befall us when we try and do the right thing. We're trying to do God's work. And again, it doesn't have to be anything lofty in terms of God's work. It can be driving across town to take a hot meal to a lonely infirm or shut-in, or taking communion to someone, or doing something to help show your of them. 1-800-585-9396. We're going to get to your calls in just a minute. We heard from Bob on the Take Two blog. Bob says, good people suffer because they go against ego that says, me first. When you put others' best interests first, you go against the world in a big way. So, Bob, thank you very much for sharing that on the blog. And what about the rest of you? As we go to break, we want to hear your takes on the other side. 1-800-585-9396. What have you experienced by way of trials, challenges, difficulties? Not only what have you experienced, how did you overcome them, and how did you deal with them? Were you still at peace? 1-800-585-9396. Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, coming right back.
Started drinking beer on Saturday nights, sleeping in on Sunday mornings, missing Mass, and it just became a pattern and continued. Without God, I don't know where I'd be right now. I know the importance of the Eucharist. I know the importance of the sacraments that I didn't know at a young age. I follow God's will because my desire is to get to heaven. Our lives are rich and full by being members of the Church.
If you've been away from the Catholic Church, visit CatholicsComeHome.org.
Get an insider latest information from EWTN. Sign up for Wings, EWTN's weekly email newsletter. Get the latest information about live events, special features, and guests. Connect with EWTN on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Just go to EWTN.com and click on the Wings link to sign up. Don't miss a minute of all that's happening at EWTN. Get your wings today.
Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN. Phone lines have filled up here. We're going to get to your takes right now about why when we do things and do God's will, we face challenges, trials, and difficulties. Debbie, I think we're ready to go to the calls.
We sure are. We want to go to Joe in Kansas City, Missouri. Joe, listening on FM 3.7. How?
I'm good.
Thank you. Good.
Thanks.
We're doing good. Thanks for waiting. What's your take on this topic?
Oh, so 2012, God called me to start a business, and it has been really difficult because I'm doing lots of really good work, and the cash flow just isn't there. And it's really trying sometimes because it feels like there's just some days where every single person that I owe money to decides to call me and tell me about it. And it's been a really good way to learn to wait on the Lord. And, you know, he really does come through whenever I need him. And but it is also very hard. So that's my take.
Well, Joe, can I ask you a couple quick questions? First of all, okay, good. First of all, the business that you're starting, and you don't have to share it if you don't want to, but I want to just ask you, does this business have anything to do that can benefit, or be for the glory of God? Does it have anything to do religious-wise?
Yeah. I'm an attorney. I focus on consumer protection law, so I represent people who don't have money for an exploited. And I actually was inspired to do it whenever I was reading my Proverbs one summer. I had a summer where I was reading a proverb a day. Mm-hmm. Proverb 22 through 23. Don't take advantage of poor people just because they're poor. Don't beat down those who are in need by taking them to court. Stand up for them in court. He will take back the stolen goods from them, from those who have robbed them. And basically, May, June, and July, every summer, God was like beating me over the head with this. Mm-hmm. That's what I do. Mm-hmm. Right. It's on my cards. It's on my website. So yeah.
Okay, so here's the great news. Are you ready for the great news?
Yeah.
Okay, you're on to something great. Okay, you just have to persevere. So here's some maybe some tools or some comfort that maybe we can impart to you. First of all, when you're doing, we know this through the saints. We know this through other inspirational stories, that anyone that tries to tackle a business or a product or a ministry, and it's going to be for the glory of God or for the greater good, they're always hit with the world. And the great news is we've learned that instantly, that if you persevere, if you stay strong, if you stay steadfast, if you stay rooted in Scripture, rooted in the Rosary, rooted in prayer, you will persevere. You will attain exactly what you're trying to achieve. I don't want to say I guarantee it, but I can tell you from reading, countless numbers of manuscripts on this, that's almost always what happens. So here's what you want to do. You want to definitely keep sacramentals around you. You want to pray the Rosary. Ask the saints that you are close to intercede and to protect you, have your back, to remove obstacles. You've got to count on the communion of saints. You've got to count on the sacred world to help you when you're doing this. Because if you're going to live and kind of get swallowed up by what the world is throwing at you, you may abandon. You just out of sheer exhaustion, Joe, you may abandon exactly that urging that you're feeling from Proverbs. You may say, okay, forget it. This is not meant to be, or maybe it's not meant to be. That's exactly what happens. Please, I'm going to pray for your mission on this, because it's definitely a godly mission. And so I will be praying for you. I know Jerry. Now you've got probably thousands and thousands of listeners praying for you as well, Joe. So please know, persevere, stay steadfast and strong. Jerry, did you want to add?
I would just add, Joe, a psalm that came to mind, Psalm 22. It's very familiar to many of us because Jesus uttered some of these words on the cross when he was dying. Psalm 22, verse 1, my God, why have you forsaken me? Why are you so far from saving me? And then it goes on and on. But Joe, read that psalm, because later on, as the psalm goes along, it turns into actually a psalm of rejoicing and happiness. And at the end, it's talking about all the rich of the earth will feast and worship. Prosperity will serve him. Future generations will be told about the Lord. It's just a beautiful, it's a psalm of victory, and yet it starts out in such darkness and despair. So that might be of help to you as well.
So much.
All right. Thank you, Joe, for your call. And as Debbie said, lots of people, including us, praying for you and your venture there. 1-800-585-9396. Why do we get bonked over the head sometimes by ourselves, by the world, by Satan? Why do challenging things happen to us when we set out to do some things for God? We're going to go to Puerto Rico next. And
I love Puerto Rico.
I do too. Is it Alvilda? Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing great. Wow, someone got my name right.
Okay. So how do you pronounce your name?
Just like that, Alvilda.
Alvilda.
Oh, wow, very good, Jerry. Yeah. How's the weather there in Puerto Rico? I just have to ask you real quick. Is it beautiful?
Well, going through a drought, so
Oh, okay.
we're praying for rain.
Okay,
it
we'll
actually rained
pray
a little
too.
bit. Yes, thank you. Well, I call. I'm a mother of three. I have three young kids, 10, 9, and 7. And there's this couple at church that has a little girl just about the same age as my kids who has cerebral palsy. So they have many challenges. And the other day, I believe it was Corpus Christi Sunday. We were there, and I was feeling so blessed, and we were all praying, and my kids were lifting up their hands, and I looked at them, they're friends of ours, and I said, oh, God, whatever blessing you have for us this week, whatever blessing you have for me, just give it all to them. Give it all to them, because their day in and day out is not easy. It's, and they don't complain. They're very happy, and they feel very blessed. But I said, give it all to them. And I left the church, and I knew that something was going to happen that week, but later during the week I forgot about it. And I was just so tired all week. Just I couldn't get my chores done at home, and I was just like, oh, my goodness, I'm dragging my feet. And Sunday came again, and I saw them, and then I realized, oh, this is what happened this week. And I just felt that just how Jesus tells us to carry each other's crosses, how I was lifting her up, and I just said, okay, now I'm ready for the following week, because now I know what's coming. So what I say is expect something to come when you ask God to do something like that with your life. I said, I know what's coming, so I know I'm going to have to do my things even if I don't feel like it, even if I feel extra tired, because that's probably how she feels every single day as she do all the things with the little girl, carry her, put her in her wheelchair, and so on. So I just wanted to share as an encouragement, expect things to happen, like to tell God to give your blessings, to bless someone in a special way and carry their cross a little bit, because it will happen, but you need to be ready.
And Alvilda, this is because the first thing that comes to my mind is that I think you mentioned these friends, child with cerebral palsy, and that I don't have children. I never have. The parish that I go to, there is, I think, one mother that has two very, very special needs children. I mean, one is in a wheelchair. She has to help the other one walk, and they grunt and they contort and all of this stuff. And I don't know what their conditions are. I think they're children of the same mother. And I look at her, and she just, Debbie, mother smiles all the time. She's happy. And I think, how can you be happy all the time? And I'm sure there are moments when maybe people aren't watching, when she has a word or two with God. But Debbie, I think what I want to focus on here for Alvilda and our other guests who are maybe going through similar situations is the gift that this can be. And I think the mother that I'm talking about in my parish,
right,
definitely sees this as a gift. It's a huge, huge cross as well. I'm sure it can be, but the gift and the joy and the peace that can come through this if we allow God to instill that in us.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And I'm thinking right now of a family that Marty see quite often in Prescott, Arizona, and we same thing. The joy on their faces when they're with their families, and you can see the challenges that's happening in their families, but they have this sheer peace and joy. It's like they really know they've tapped into the inner blessing. They've tapped into God's divine plan for them. And you got to they are an inspiration to all of us. Alvilda, we're going to be praying for rain for Puerto Rico, and thank you for calling in. We've got that beautiful music. But on the other side of the break, we're going to get to all your calls. Marty and Robert and Richard, hang on there. This is Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. If you want to get in, start calling now. See you at the end of the break.
Hi,
Hi, I'm Kathy Sinnott, and I'm host of EWTN's Celtic Connections. From our studios in Ireland, we take a Catholic look at the big stories breaking in Great Britain, in Ireland, and across Europe. Connections is the only Catholic news show made in the UK or Ireland. So join me every Saturday and Sunday on Celtic Connections.
For dates and times in your area, log on to EWTN.com.
I don't have money to travel, but I can travel the world on EWTN, and I do. God bless each of you. I love traveling the world on EWTN.
If you have a comment about our program, we'd love to hear from you too. Call 205-795-5773 or send us an email to radio@EWTN.com. Thank you very much for listening. God bless you.
Hi, this is Joan Lewis. In my work here at the Vatican, I'm blessed to speak with all kinds of people every day, from visitors to Rome to Vatican officials, even to the Pope. And every week on our EWTN program, Vatican Insider, I'll share their stories with you. We'll bring you the latest news from Rome. We'll talk with Vatican leaders and newsmakers, and we'll answer your questions. So don't miss Vatican Insider this weekend, right here on the EWTN radio network. For times in your area, go to EWTN.com and click on radio.
Hear what others are saying about listening to EWTN radio.
My wife and I discovered EWTN about a year and a half ago, and we just enjoy all the programming. We thank you for all your work, and everyone that works with EWTN. You really are a beam of light in a world that really seems to be getting darker almost every day. But thank you for all that work.
Listen daily to the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
Welcome back. We're so glad you tuned in today. This is a great show on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, and we're with you. I'm Debbie Georgiani and Jerry right here with you, and we would love for you to call in at 1-800-585-9396. Jerry, I just wanted to share when we were on the break. Joe, I hope you're still listening from Kansas City, Missouri. Joe, please, we forgot to mention that we're not going to say if, when your new venture, your new business, well, I like to say your new ministry, comes to fruition, would you please, Joe, call up and give all of us an update? You know, we're all going to be praying, and a lot of us carry books around and we write down other people's prayer intentions. It's nice for us to be able to check it off and say, okay, Joe's taken care of. She's got her ministry, her business up and running. So, Joe, please call in, give us an update.
And for Alvilda, one other thing that I just loved about what you said, Alvilda, and you said that you were I believe it was at Mass, you said, God, whatever graces you would bestow on me today, bestow on this family that is going through a tough time. And not to pat myself, but I actually do that a lot. When I'm at Mass, I say, God, whatever graces you have for me today, please give them to somebody who may not otherwise be going to Mass, or a family member or a friend who's hurting. Folks, it's a great way. We're all the spiritual body of Christ. We can do things like that because in God, all things are possible, and we are all united in Him. So join us here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. 1-800-585-9396. Before we get to your calls, a lot of social media activity.
Yes.
Susan posting on Facebook. She says, I try to focus on God and not on my situation. When I focus on myself, I get so depressed. I try. So, Susan, thank you. God bless you. Let's see. Vincent says, my severest temptations come barely minutes after leaving the confessional. Mm-hmm. He says, Job is right. Human life on this earth is warfare. And I love what Zulma said. She said, because we become an incessant target for the evil one when we do good things for God.
Oh, wow. Well, great comments. Vincent, I just want to share, if you're listening, and I hope you are, that happens to many of us as soon as we leave the confessional. I remember one time I was leaving the confessional and I felt so good, so happy. And as soon as I got out to the car, see, here we go with the car again. See, there's my obstacle. I need to start riding
Had
a
to go
bicycle.
back into the confessional again?
No, I need to ride a bicycle. No, I came out and somebody nicked my car. They had opened the door and they nicked my brand new car. Can you believe? So maybe the moral of the story is I need to start riding a bike.
Yeah,
a
or
bicycle.
just drive an old car like I do.
Okay. Well, mine's kind of old though. Mine's almost like 8 years old now.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
But there you go. Wow, this is exciting. I just want to share real quickly Puerto Rico. I'm so happy to hear from Puerto Rico. I love it. I just have to say my mom, we do shows on regrets, and we're going to be doing more shows on that, or we're going to do second guest parenting and all that kind of stuff, which is kind of like, regrets or shoulda, woulda, couldas. But my mother, one of my mom's regrets is that she didn't move our whole family to Puerto Rico. She fell in love with Puerto Rico when she went there on a convention, and that was one of her regrets. So in the show, so I don't know. So maybe it was all meant to be. Go ahead.
It was God's will.
It was God's will. There you go.
Take two with Jerry and Debbie. We're talking about why we face challenges, trials, obstacles, even temptations when we set out to do God's work or simply to do what's right in our daily lives. 1-800-585-396. Share your take. Share how you got through a situation like that. Next up is Richard calling from Florida, listening on 103.3 FM. Richard, welcome.
Hey, how are you guys doing today?
Good,
Real
thank
well,
you.
thanks.
I just wanted to tell a story that happened to me, and I'll make it quick. I was in a car accident about 2 months ago, and I was fine out of it. The car was totaled. But it's what happened earlier in the day. You talk about the devil trying to destroy your joy. Well, I'm pretty quiet and a conservative, really. But I was standing in line at a bank teller on a Saturday morning, and there must have been 32 people in line. And there's this one bank teller. She's a beautiful person, always smiling, no matter who she's waiting on, or mad or angry at. She's always smiling and handles it. And I've seen this for a year. Well, that morning I said, I've got to let this girl know how happy she makes people, because she makes me happy. So when I got up to the teller, I wrote her a note, and it said, "You are always so very happy, smiling. I want some of what you got, whatever's making you happy." Well, rather than be quiet as the rest of the people are in line, she exclaimed out loud, "You just made my day, and thank you, sir. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm going to frame this and put it on my wall." Well, that was stepping out for me, and what happened later that day was the car wreck. And it's sometimes almost obvious how the devil tries to destroy your joy, but he did not mind that day. And I just want to give that as a testament that you try to do something good, even in small ways, for people, and sometimes things happen that want to steal that, but it did not. By the way, it was a Catholic couple that hit me, and they were precious people. It was a Catholic day for me.
What a story. I love that story.
And, we're going to do a show on this at some point, how we treat others. We had that actually planned for this week, Richard, and because we switched gears last Friday to go to the Supreme Court ruling and talk about the same-sex marriage issue, we had to move one of the shows out. But we're going to do that at some point. But, Debbie, I think if we can kind of tease that show a little bit looking ahead, and we don't have a date, we may have a date set for it, I'm not certain. But Debbie and I talk about this. And we don't know what a person is going through in their daily lives. Somebody could be severely depressed. Somebody could be suicidal. Somebody could be ready to leave the church. Somebody could be thinking about a divorce. Somebody could be going through, the worst thing in the world. We don't know. We encounter somebody in the grocery store, at the gym, maybe in the office. And Debbie, a kind word from us, we may not even know this either, but it could be exactly what they need to hear at that time.
Absolutely. Well, one of our youngest listeners, Jessica, it was a chance meeting that I met with her last week, and we exchanged just kind words, and I asked her about her future and what she wants to really do when she becomes an older adult. She's a young adult, and now she's a listener, and we correspond, and it's really a connection. I think we're looking for people want to be accepted. People want to be loved. People want to be heard. People want to be just having a human spiritual soul-to-soul connection with, we have text messaging. We have all sorts of contraptions to keep us from actually connecting eye to eye, soul to soul, human to human. And when you make those connections, like when Richard said he wrote her a note, she has a physical, tangible article. She said she's going to frame it. Okay, how awesome is that? That means it's important, that connection. That is a ministry all in and of itself. I tell my mom all the time, Mom, you can just have a ministry by going out there and connecting with. That is a ministry. Way to go, Richard. Thank you for making the time and calling in and sharing your beautiful story.
All right, thanks, Richard, for joining us on Take Two with Jerry. Phone number 1-800-585-9396, 1-800-585-9396. Great to hear from Richard in Florida. And our next stop is Battle Creek, Michigan. Marty, listening on FM 89.5. Marty, you're on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. How's it going today?
It couldn't be better.
Oh, praise God.
Hi, Marty.
First off, thank you so much for putting a smile on my face this morning.
Oh.
Well, we're happy that we did. How did that happen?
Yeah, how did that happen? We'd like to know. How did that happen, Marty?
Your topic today is trials and tribulations of trying to spread the gospel, right?
You got it.
Yep.
Okay. 25 years ago or so, I joined the Christian Motorcycle Association. That was a good thing. I spent all that time working like the Lone Ranger with no help. And like St. Paul, I managed to get myself mugged, robbed, jailed, ran out of town, yada, yada, No big deal, goes with the territory. But, and that's just kind of what put a smile on my face. Anyway, the good news is the last time, which is a few months ago, that the derelicts and the homeless and the bikers and the yada, yada, crack dealers that I work with stole my car, I was forced to stay home and listen to the radio, Catholic radio, which I listen to a lot, all right? Anyway, I find out about this St. Paul street evangelization, and I'm thinking, there's other people doing this? So they're bugging me now. I've been emailing them to start a chapter in my town, which doesn't have one. And I met a guy who's a fourth degree KFC, He's in good standing, and he's going to ask the bishop if we can do it. And I finally got somebody who's willing to stand in front of a liquor store and hand out Bible tracts, to pimps and dealers and whatnot with me, which is a real blessing. I'm getting my own Barnabas.
It's a great deal, 2 for 1.
Yeah.
But I'm saying I am such a slow learner, Only took me 25 years to figure it out.
Well, you know what, Bob? I call myself a slow study as well. Or Marty. I'm sorry about that. Marty. How could I forget that? That's Debbie's husband's name is Marty. I too, it's taken me so many years of my life, and I don't call them wasted years. I think I'm conservative. I'm kind of cautious by nature, but I'll tell you what. And Marty, I don't know if you experienced this, but when you that light bulb finally goes on, and you say, I get it now. I don't know about you, but I just felt like there was this peace and sort of a smoothness. God kind of paved the way for that even after years of praying and challenges. I don't know if you've experienced that you have that sort of that free-flowing spirit in you as you do this now.
Gee, how to comment on that? Like I said, instead of getting depressed about not being able to accomplish what I wanted to do for so long, I planted a lot of seeds, and I've been told by ministers and priests, hey, Marty, not everybody is the guy that's going to lead them to getting baptized. Somebody's got to walk up to that's got a crack lab in his trailer, and go, hey, dude, you're going to hell, And finally, now I'm at the point where, wow, I'm going to have help doing this. How cool! Thanks, Jesus.
Yeah.
Wow.
Let me, I think it's in 1 Corinthians chapter 3, if I'm not mistaken. St. Paul talks about one who plants, one who waters. But what he says is, neither the one who plants nor the one who waters is anything, but only God who makes things grow. So, Marty, in a sense, and this is one of the tricky things about doing direct evangelization that you're trying to do, and that is we may never see that fruit grow. But if you have put the seed in the ground, Marty, and maybe even put a little bit of water on that, Debbie, I mean, this is all that God calls us to do. And God is, I like to say Jesus is a great farmer. All right, if we put seeds in the ground, put a little water on them, Debbie, Jesus is going to make sure they grow to fruition.
Oh, I love Marty's story. And Marty, I'm right with you. I often say that if I, God willing, if I get to heaven, God's going to say, why does it take so long for you to see the signs and to discern? You know, I was throwing and everything at you and hitting you in the head and it wasn't working. So I'm right with you, Marty. Love your story. Love your name. It is my husband's name, so I absolutely love it. And also, if you get a chance, maybe Google the prayer, Oscar Romero prayer. It was attributed to Archbishop Romero, but let me just share something. It was actually written by a different bishop, but the prayer itself is exactly what you're talking about, Marty, about planting the seeds of a future that's not of your own, and it's absolutely beautiful prayer. So we got to go to break. Let's break, and we're going to ask Robert and Bob and Mary Catherine to hold on, and we're going to take this quick break on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. We're so glad you joined us today. It's a great topic, so hang on for this quick break. We'll be right back.
There are hundreds of billions of stars in our galaxy and over 100 billion galaxies in our universe. When you think about that, it's easy to feel insignificant and small. But I think God is looking down from heaven saying, you're huge next to all this. Look, as big as the mountains are, can it make a choice? As big as an ocean is, can it love someone? As big as a galaxy is, can it change directions? No, but you can. More than anything in creation, you are the mirror image of God. You have a soul. You have an intellect. You can know, make decisions, give and receive love. And ultimately, you're made to share in the love of God forever. You stand apart from everything, and you'll still be around long after all this has passed. Sure, you're physically small in this universe, but when you think that you and all people stand out from the rest of creation, you're kind of a big deal. This is Chris Stefanik from reallifecatholic.com.
Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN. And just a little bit of a look ahead for you. We have this show is on Monday through Friday at this time, and it also re-airs at midnight Eastern Time, so we would love to have you join us later on this evening if you are able to. The rest of this is tomorrow we're going to talk about birthdays. How do we handle them? How do we celebrate them? Especially as we get older. How do we celebrate children's birthdays? Things like this. We're going to talk about
wait. Why are we doing tomorrow birthdays, Jerry? Come on, be honest.
Debbie.
It's Jerry's birthday tomorrow. So if you would like to celebrate Jerry's birthday together as one big happy radio family of listeners, make sure you tune in to Take Two because it's Jerry's actual birthday. I won't even share your age. Don't worry. That's for you to share.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I think that you can find it on Facebook, though.
Probably. I did want to read a really quick email that came in. You can email us, take2@EWTN.com. And this email is from a lady named Susan. She is in, Dallas. And she puts a smiley face at the end of her email. She says, I signed up to teach religious education at my church at St. Michael the Archangel in Garland, Texas. I was assigned to the preschool class, 2 weeks before religious education was to start, I broke my leg.
Oh.
It was a bad break, and I had to have surgery, 2 surgeries to repair it. However, I was determined to continue the call to serve. Because I was on crutches and unable to minister to these little ones, I was assigned to assist the lead teacher of the first grade class in lieu of being the lead teacher for 4-year-olds. I had such a blessed experience with these first graders that I felt called to move up with these children to the second grade class and will be preparing them for First Communion. I am so excited about this opportunity and looking forward to this coming year. She says, as a side note, I'm a single mother of 6, grown and on their own. She has custody of 2 of her 9 grandchildren and a full-time, high-stress, fast-paced career. I've experienced many trials and tribulations on my journey to serve the Lord. However, I've always been so richly rewarded when I stayed on track and continued my journey. Debbie, what a story.
What a great story. We are hearing from so many wonderful people from all around the country sharing their comments on how they have persevered. They have continued the ministry. I just wanted to share because on the break I was telling Jerry that when the catechists would begin their classes, when they would work with me at parishes, I always asked them to carry the Archbishop Oscar Romero prayer and to pray it. It's called A Step Along the Way. You can also find it on the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops website, usccb.org. But it's the Archbishop Oscar Romero prayer, A Step Along the Way. We're going to post it on take2show.com to make it easy for you. Please print it out. Please pray this prayer. It is amazing, and it really gets you in the right mindset to minister and just plant those important seeds and let God do the rest.
Back to the phones on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Robert, you've been waiting patiently in Gainesville, Virginia. You're listening to EWTN.com. And Robert, you are on live with us. Welcome.
Hi, Jerry. Hi, Debbie. Thanks for having me on. And thanks
Anytime.
for all you do for all the listeners out there and all those who are not even listening.
No, thanks.
Thank you.
Debbie, the reason I called is because I am from St. Anne's Catholic Church in Gilbert, Arizona.
Yes.
I'm in Gainesville, and there's a couple of radio hosts that are from St. Anne's who pass through once in a while.
Uh-huh.
I know Aurora and Jean Estes Gonzalez. I came into the church in 2007
Oh, wow.
at St. Anne's Catholic Church after a Iraq war vet died and saw the other side, had a large conversion. Now walking with God and living in Virginia, we did a leap of faith. But my story is that I want to share with you all is this, is we had a big struggle the last couple of weeks because we have a house in Arizona that's been constantly rented by the grace of God. So because he wanted us here in Virginia, we did a leap of faith and moved out here to do his will. And then we, of course, had some bad renters just this last couple of weeks that we had to, call the FBI on, a few other things, Gilbert PD. And lo and behold, we're tied on first babies on their way. And I made a phone call, and a friend sent me a very large check, not a loan or anything like that, just to pay bills off, and it's going to take care of the lawyer of suing these people. And during this, I got that check. I kept getting the same thing from God. Keep my focus on him, the passage of Peter walking on the water. When we walk with God, we walk on water. When we take our eyes off God, we sink in the water. And so if we keep our eyes focused, we're walking with him, everything is going to be okay. And that's what I wanted to convey to Joe out there today for her, and then I'm praying for her.
Wait. Great comments. And yes, amen to your comments, and to keep your focus on Jesus. And the struggles will come, the waves, the storms, and everything will be crashing to the sides of us. But if we keep our eyes fixed on Jesus, we know we're going to be safe. Way to go, Robert. Thank you for taking the time. And I just feel like I know you already because you came through St. Anne's. And I will tell Jean Estes Gonzalez, who I just actually saw about a month ago, that you did call in. I'm so grateful you came into the church, and grateful that you took the time to call today on Take Two. Thank you, Robert.
Yeah, Robert, we appreciate that. Mary Catherine in Central Illinois, we're going to go to you. We've got about 60 seconds, but you held patiently. You called in. So if you can concisely share what you wanted to, we want to get you on the show before we end. Hi, Mary Catherine.
Hi there.
Hi.
Go right ahead.
To just call in and leave, you know, that you can have 10 children and trust in God, and He will always provide the graces that you need to do what you got to do.
Amen.
So you're talking about yourself, Mary Catherine,
I'm
right?
talking about myself. I married a man who was almost 30 years old from World War II, and he just knew what he wanted, and he was a God man. And God had blessed us with 9 children, and really had 8, but we took in my husband's first cousin, who had his mother had died when he was a year old, from Chicago. So I asked him if he wanted to stay on the farm for a week. Well, that was it. We've raised him. He's now 66. And then I was having my 10th child, and I'm asking God, just love somebody else for a while. I just think I have my hands full. Well, we had a 10th child who is a domestic engineer. I mean, he's an engineer from the University of Illinois, and he is just the biggest blessing we've ever had. And God gives, and then we lost a son in 1969 who was almost it was the summer before he was a senior, and you wonder how you're going to handle this. But that's what I put it into the context of God gives and God takes away, and He have to ask us.
Yeah, Mary Catherine, forgive me. Mary Catherine, we're going to run out of time here, and I don't want that to happen to you. We just have to close up the show here, but great contribution to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. You got a beautiful, beautiful heart, and you're in your husband's openness to God and His will and to new life. I'm sure has brought, some challenges and trials, but I'm sure the blessings are probably a gazillion times more than that. So, Mary Catherine, thank you for joining us and here on the program today. Deb, we got time for our takeaways.
We do, and I just want to say, Mary Catherine, your joy-filled spirit is contagious. You are an inspiration to all of us. Thank you for being a great, great role model to all of us. My takeaway is keep your eyes fixed on Jesus. Like my mom, my 84-year-old mom says, stay close to Jesus. Keep your eyes on Jesus. That's my takeaway. What's yours, Jerry?
Well, I'm going to steal my takeaway from Diane, who got a hold of us with a note on our Facebook page. Look for the Take Two Show Facebook page on EWTN Radio Network. It says when we go through, and I'm adding here in the front of her post, when we're facing challenges and trials because we're doing the right thing, doing God's work, Diane says He's testing us. Never lose faith. All right, Diane, thank you. And all the other callers, Rich, Matt, Jeff, thank you. Behind the scenes, great work as always. Jerry Usher with Debbie Georgianni. Join us again tomorrow. We're going to talk about birthdays, and do we freak out when we hit like 50, or how do we celebrate birthdays? Are we good with them? How do we, especially kids' birthdays, things like that. So be sure and join us again tomorrow right here on EWTN.